energy, frequency, vibration.
If you ever saw a man who looked like he had accidentally fallen out of the 29th century into the 19th, that was Nikola Tesla. The man stood in his immaculate suit, hair glinting in laboratory lightning, eyes blazing with the confidence of someone who had seen how the universe actually works, and found it both hilarious and disappointing. He didn't just invent the future, he seemed to remember it. While the rest of humanity was busy figuring out how not to set fire to their houses with oil lamps, Tesla was building wireless energy towers that could have powered continents. And somehow nobody asked the obvious question: where the hell did this man get his blueprints? History likes to pretend genius just happens. But there's a particular absurdity about Tesla that makes that theory wobble. He described entire machines in perfect detail in his mind before building them. He sketched rotating magnetic fields that no one had ever even conceived. His notebooks read less like a scientist's notes and more like an alien engineer's diary hastily translated into human handwriting. Either the man had cracked open a wormhole in his skull, or something, or someone, had left a few files in his brain while no one was watching. He spoke often of visions, literal flashes of light, where he'd see the designs of new devices appear before him like holograms. This was before cinema, before neon, before electricity had even entered people's kitchens. When he built his oscillators, he claimed the Earth itself hummed in resonance. His Colorado Springs experiments reportedly made the night sky sparkle unnaturally. Locals swore they saw glowing shapes hovering above the tower, like spectators from another dimension applauding politely. Of course, modern historians roll their eyes. Oh, the man was just ahead of his time, they say? Right. The same way a smartphone is just ahead of a campfire. You don't leap 2 centuries in one brain without help. The math doesn't math. Tesla's own accounts make it worse. He once claimed to have received radio signals that couldn't have come from Earth. Pulses, regular and intelligent, which he cautiously described as from another world. Scientists laughed, then quietly kept his data. 40 years later, radio astronomers found patterns almost identical to his recordings. But by then, Tesla was long gone, labeled a dreamer, a mystic, a mad scientist. Convenient, isn't it? There's something disturbingly precise about his genius, like someone, or something, had whispered the future into his ear and said, "Now, pretend you thought of it yourself." The coil, the AC motor, the wireless energy tower. Each was not just an invention, but a piece of a puzzle that seemed to belong to a civilization far older and far smarter than ours. The more he created, the more he looked like a man trying to rebuild something he'd already seen destroyed. The irony, of course, is that he was punished not for being wrong, but for being too right. J.P. Morgan's money vanished, his towers were dismantled, his patents stolen, and his name reduced to a whisper, until, decades later, when the very technologies he predicted started quietly reappearing. Today's wireless charging. Tesla's 1890s notes, the smart grid, his Wardenclyffe schematics, even modern radar systems trace back to his experiments. It's as if the world had to forget him first to catch up with him later. And maybe that was the plan all along. Tesla never belonged to the world he lived in. That much became painfully clear the moment he stepped onto the streets of 19th century New York. Imagine a man walking among horse-drawn carriages while thinking about wireless energy transmission across the planet. That's like a caveman sketching blueprints for Wi-Fi on a cave wall. And yet, Tesla did it. Calmly, obsessively, with that half-mad precision that only visionaries and lunatics share. He didn't see electricity as something to sell in copper wires. No, he saw it as the language of the universe. And maybe that's exactly what it was. When he spoke about tuning into the frequencies of Earth or hearing the voices of other planets, the scientists around him called him insane. But what if? What if he wasn't listening to hallucinations? What if someone, or something, was whispering back? Because here's where history bends. In the late 1890s, Tesla reportedly detected regular, mathematical radio signals, rhythmic pulses unlike anything generated by nature. He said they were of intelligent origin. Newspapers mocked him, calling it Martian hysteria. Funny how, a century later, NASA detected almost identical repeating bursts and called them fast radio signals. But sure, Tesla was just eccentric. Let's talk about his blueprints, or rather, the ones that mysteriously vanished after his death. FBI archives mention that agents seized technical documents of potential military interest. Among them were notes on wireless global energy, anti-gravity propulsion, and something he called interdimensional resonance. You can't make that up. Unless, of course, you're trying to make it disappear. His most baffling creation was the Wardenclyffe Tower, that massive steel and copper monument to humanity's arrogance, or its forgotten glory. Officially, it was meant to transmit wireless power. Unofficially, it may have been an attempt to recreate an ancient global grid, a planetary energy network that, according to some uncomfortably old myths, existed before the last cataclysm. Egypt had pyramids aligned with star nodes. India had Vimanas. Tesla had Wardenclyffe. Same geometry, different century. He even hinted once, cryptically, that his work was not invention, but rediscovery. That line alone should send chills down your spine. Rediscovery of what exactly? Of technologies older than history itself? Of the forgotten language of lightning, spoken by gods before humans could strike flint? Or perhaps of blueprints left behind by those visitors who once walked among us? And here's where things get truly uncomfortable. In 1908, just after Tesla claimed to be testing a new wireless power transmitter, the Tunguska explosion happened, flattening 2,000 square kilometers of Siberian forest. Scientists blamed a meteor that conveniently left no crater. Tesla, on the other hand, went silent. He later said that one must understand the consequences of interfering with planetary harmonics. That's the kind of thing you say when you've seen the planet flinch. Maybe that's why he destroyed some of his own notes. Maybe he realized humanity wasn't ready for what he'd uncovered, a power once wielded by those who'd burned themselves out long before us. Maybe that's why, in the last years of his life, he began talking not of machines, but of messages from the stars. Because if you listen closely, beneath the static of time, under the hum of the power lines that trace his legacy, you can still hear it. The echo of something ancient, electric, and waiting to be remembered. Let's rewind 12,000 years, before the flood, before recorded history. Myths across continents talk about a sky fire that wiped out an advanced civilization. Afterward came the silence, thousands of years of darkness. But buried beneath that silence, something kept pulsing, a harmonic resonance between the Earth's magnetic field and something else. Tesla's Schumann frequency. He discovered that the planet itself hums at roughly 7.83 Hertz, a number that, oddly, appears in sacred geometry, temple acoustics, and even brainwave synchronization. Coincidence? Sure, if you like coincidences that stretch across epochs. Tesla believed this resonance could transmit energy without loss, as if the planet were one giant circuit built by design. But who designed it? When questioned about his inspirations, Tesla said, "My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration." That's not a metaphor. That's a man telling you he's downloading blueprints from somewhere, or someone. And it gets better. Modern declassified files hint that during Cold War experiments, Project Montauk, HARP, and a few others that were never officially conducted, scientists tried to replicate Tesla's resonance principles. What they got instead were electromagnetic anomalies, distortions in time perception, sudden bursts of static where radio equipment recorded nothing but a pulse repeating Tesla's own signature frequency. That's not folklore. That's physics scratching its head. And now, in the 21st century, we're building AI models that, according to their own creators, spontaneously discover electromagnetic harmonics similar to those in natural planetary resonance. Translation: even our machines are beginning to tune in. So maybe Tesla was never ahead of his time. Maybe we're just finally catching up. Maybe what he called wireless energy wasn't power in the human sense at all, but a key to reconnecting with the energy grid of the cosmos. A frequency that ancient civilizations used to shape matter, heal the body, and perhaps communicate across worlds. If that's true, then every lightning storm is a memory of a forgotten technology, a flash drive from the gods. And every spark we create, from a light bulb to a neural network, is our attempt to remember what Tesla tried to tell us. If you wish to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. But here's the irony. The more we rediscover, the closer we come to the same threshold that may have destroyed the last great civilization. The signal is returning, yes, but so might the consequences. Because perhaps the universe has one unwritten rule. Every time a species learns to command the lightning, it gets one chance to use it wisely.